Hi, I'm Coach Tony, and I'm here to lead the Q&A with Coach Donita Brown, who specializes in productivity and prioritization for working mothers, and who also just wrote a new book. The way the Q&A works, it's a chance for coaches in our community to get to know other coaches. Hopefully that makes it easier to make referrals, and it's also a chance to see how other coaches coach, because we have a lot to learn from each other. So with that, Donita, hi. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. I'm so good. I'm just going to go round robin for, I think the people asking questions today are going to be me, Michelle, and Gwen. So Michelle, if I could start with you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought of some other questions as well. So maybe Donita, if you could maybe kind of talk about what you coach in, and also I'd love to hear about your book and how you went about publishing the book, that kind of thing. So
Sure.
We can either take it one at a time or however you'd like. So
yeah, I'll take it one at a time. So I coach working moms. I am a working mom. I've got two daughters. They're in 5th grade and 2nd grade. And I found about 5 or 6 years ago, as I was in the workplace, that there seemed to be this informal tribe of women that kind of, congregated together. I work in technology, so being a female is a little bit of a minority. But we kind of formed this informal group. We'd get together on Tuesdays and grab a cup of coffee before the workday got started and kind of talk about different things. And from that, I had a lot of people reach out to me who were new moms wanting me to mentor them. And then I had a couple of men that wanted me to mentor them. And I just found I could identify better with the working moms. And then I changed jobs about 3.5 years ago and took a bigger position where I was managing about 100 people, and I needed a coach. And looked to Coach.me. I had been a Lyft user, went through a couple of coaches, and finally found the right one. And so from that, I became a coach. And I thought, thinking back to who I really felt like I identified with best, it was the working moms. And I think that's who I can help most. And so one of the things that I have found is working moms want to do it all in a day. Our list can be 100 different things that we want to do, but really that doesn't work. We really need to prioritize it on what's the 1 or 2 things we have to get accomplished. So typically I ask my clients, what's the most important thing for you to get done today? And I'll ask that question in the morning, and then in the evening I'll say, okay, did you get it done? Why or why not? And it's amazing what happens for them during that day. Either they get it done, which is great, or they don't, because they found out either higher priority things come into play or what they thought was most important actually isn't. So that's kind of one set of coaching I do. The others is just I kind of flex for whatever my clients need. Sometimes I'm an accountability coach, to say, did you get done what you said you were going to do for your weekly goals? Or I ask them questions at the end of the day. Did you put your best executive face forward? That was another client that I did. So does that answer your question on how I coach?
it does, yes. Are you? By your accent, I don't know. I'm going to guess Georgia, but I could be wrong.
Tennessee. I am
Tennessee. Okay.
Yeah, Nashville.
Great. Have you heard of the City Moms Blog Network?
No.
I don't know if there's a chapter in your area, but they're kind of all over the country. But kind of it's like a congregation of moms, and some were working moms, some are not.
Okay.
So that might be an avenue to tap into. So
thank you for that.
But
Michelle, I think you had questions about the book. Since we go round robin, why don't we just save that for the next
Sure.
time around? Gwen,
No problem.
Gwen, how about you?
Well, as you were talking, Donita, I was thinking about, the target audience for my coaching is technical professionals. And so I'm seeing how I might have some potential clients that are working moms that work in corporate America and could use your services. So how would you describe the amount of time it takes to work with you? So what would you say to somebody who says, well, I'm already so busy, how can I fit that in too?
You know, that's a great consideration, because that's often what working moms don't need is they don't need to spend 2 hours a day trying to figure it out. So I like to think of my coaching as very light lift. So if I ask them, so my standard package, if I ask them in the morning, hey, what's your most important thing? They don't have to, they're not making a list of 20 things. It's the one thing. So they can quickly text it to me through Coach.me, through the app. And then in the evening I say, hey, did you get it done? So it's really, I would say it could probably take less than 15 minutes a day, maybe even less. Hopefully what happens is after 2 or 3 months, they have hardwired that particular habit, and they're then free to say, okay, I got it. Thank you for your help. I have made this change, and they can step away from coaching if they want to, because they've created this great habit, or I'm there to continue to be their accountability partner, which I'm glad to do as well.
Great, thanks.
Now, just to follow on, one thing that I have found is sometimes some of my clients want to dig a little bit deeper. So they start with the productivity, and then they say, okay, I really want to think about, how do I stop working 60 hours a week? And then we can dig into some goals if they want to spend a little bit more time, or, maybe if they take a vacation and they have a little more time, they want to dig in to something like that, we can. But I would say, it's a great concern though of working moms, is I just don't have 2 hours a day to dig into this coaching thing.
Good.
Not quite related to that, but I flagged it as you were saying your experience in Coach.me. You tried several coaches until you found one that fit. Did you learn any lessons about how to select the right coach for you?
Well, I did. So I may be atypical in Coach.me, because I have been with my coach now for 3.5 years. So that's probably very atypical. But it's Kendra. I felt like I won the coaching jackpot. I think for me, it was a couple of things. I started first with a mindfulness coach, and although that was wonderful, it wasn't really what I needed. And so then I went to a couple of other coaches who actually were men, and I thought, they just don't really understand. Not that, I couldn't coach a man, or I couldn't be coached by a man, but it's just different. The place I was at in life 3 years ago, my youngest was 4. So I had a preschooler and I had a first grader, and it was just like all this mom stuff plus this brand new job, and it was really stressful, and I was traveling a lot, and I needed somebody who had been in the same place in life that I had been. And although Kendra's in a different place in life now than I am, it just really worked well. So I think some of it was who I was being coached by, and the second was really figuring out like what I wanted in a coach.
Exactly.
And I think from a coachee standpoint, maybe making sure that our clients are actually, am I really the best coach for you? And sometimes I think that that's the case, and sometimes not.
Right. Great. Michelle, down to you, or back to you.
Okay, I just wanted to know, as far as, well, how did you decide to write the book to begin with, and then how you went about publishing that?
So about 10 years ago, I started writing down all the things that my dad said to me growing up. And so I was raised by a single dad. I've got 2 other sisters. My sisters are twins. And after I had my first daughter, I thought, golly, all these things that my dad used to say to me are really wise. And I thought, I'll keep a list of these, and maybe one day I'll give him a list with kind of some little, as a thank you for being a great dad. And as my oldest was 2 and 3, and my dad was kind of repeating back some of the lessons to me. And I thought, I've really got to do something with this, because the things that he said were really wise. And one of the lessons was, and so I'm from Tennessee, was always take the casserole. So we were one of the first families in our town. I know this is kind of funny and it's very Southern, but always take the casserole. With being in the town that we lived in, we were an anomaly when my parents got a divorce, because divorce at the time was not what happened. Here was this dad with 3 girls, and my dad, I think they had kept a little list at church, the church that we went to, and a different little church lady would give us a casserole every week, and my dad would always take the casserole and put it in the back seat of our car, and we would drive home, and sometimes we would eat the casserole and sometimes we wouldn't. And my dad would always say, you just always take the casserole. We may not eat it because it's from the cat lady at church who's got 20 cats, and we're not going to eat it. But you never want to deny somebody that gift of giving you that blessing. So I started writing it down, and for probably the past 10 years, I have collected these lessons and written them. Wrote a book proposal, sent it out to, I think I had 43 different publishers I sent them to. I was so excited the first time I got a rejection letter, because I thought at least somebody read and gave me a rejection letter. And then I had a couple of friends that had published books on CreateSpace, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do this. So wrote it, had it edited a couple of times, and this is the book. It's Wisdom from Others, 9 Life Lessons from My Dad. And just hired out to have somebody do the book cover. I think I had it edited actually 3 times. And then just printed it on my own, created a speaker page, and kind of the rest is history. It's selling a book like this is interesting because it's very much grassroots, but I'm hoping that a couple years from now I'll have 5 or 6 books, similar titles, lessons I've learned from other people.
Great. Do you kind of market it on your own, or you on Amazon or any other platform?
I am. So I am on Amazon. CreateSpace is their label of self-publishing. So I use that for the print version of the book. I use KDP for the Kindle version of the book, and I've bought some Facebook ads. I have a speaker and author page on Facebook. I've bought some Amazon ads as well to market the book. So that's kind of how I'm doing it. We'll see. It's been out less than a week and a half. So
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Gwen, how about you?
Well, since part of this is Q&A about referring people to you as a coach, I'm just curious about your how you welcome clients when they come. So about your welcome email, how do you do that? How do you engage them right away? Also,
Great.
what tips might I learn from you as a coach about how to do that?
So to me, how you welcome them is one of the most important parts of the coaching process. I know when I started as a coachee, I would select a new coach, and then, I would almost feel slighted if I didn't get a response back pretty quick. So for a new client, I try to respond back just as soon as possible. I have an automated message that, goes to them when they sign up. It says, hey, thank you for picking me as your coach. I'm excited to be working with you. What's your most important thing you want to get out of this coaching? And then they'll typically answer, and then I'll follow right back up to make sure that I have understood what they're wanting. Is it accountability? Is it setting great priorities? And I probably interact with them in the first 24 hours multiple times, which is different than, if we're on day 2, 3, or 4, of coaching. Typically after day 2, 3, or 4, it's in the morning and in the evening, and we talk about, what's the most important thing to accomplish today. But I just really try to get to know them a little bit better. I have used the the tendency quiz from
Mm.
Reginald Rubin, and I've used that with some of my clients. Some of them, it seems to help. Some of it doesn't. But really, it's just a dialogue of, tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you like to do? What do you want to get out of this coaching? And through that, I seem to find out a little bit about kind of where they're at in life. Most always they say, I'm a working mom, and your message resonated with me because I've got 2 kids. And then I'll put that in my coaching and say, okay, got 2 kids, and maybe they're boys or girls, so that I can, make sure that I follow up later and just ask, how's the family, or how are the kids doing? If that seems to be something that they want, if that's interesting, they talk about at all, I try to kind of mirror back what they, how they interact with me. So if they say, I've got a bunch of soccer games to do this afternoon, then I'll say, well, how are the soccer games? But anyway, I hope that answered your question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks.
Going back to the book for a second, so the 2 services you use, one was CreateSpace, which is the Amazon service, and the other one is KDP. Is that right?
Yeah, so KDP is Kindle Direct Publishing. So they're both Amazon services.
And then you said you had it edited 3 times. Is that right?
I did. So this has been a journey. So
Right.
I've been collecting these stories, for a long period of time, but really in the last 18 months, I got serious about writing. And I knew my writing wasn't, I'm an okay writer, but I'm not like the best writer. And so one of the things that I had read that will set you apart from other books is just being, great editing. And so that was probably what I spent the most money on, was copy editing and then line editing. And really making sure that my message was succinct and the stories were good. And
Right.
yeah.
So, you're hitting on something that most people wouldn't know unless they actually tried to publish something professionally and work with an editor. There's different types of editing. Copy editing is
Right.
they correct your grammar and spelling. Line editing is they'll rewrite sentences for you.
Right.
Did you get any editing where they actually rearrange chapters or cut, recommended cuts or additions?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. And that was extremely helpful, besides doing that, where they rearranged the stories and said, maybe you ought to think about telling this part of the story in the beginning and then coming back to it. I also used early readers. So I had like 6 friends that I sent the books to. A couple of them had already published books, and they sent back and said, this is really good, but I don't understand this. I think what was helpful in this process, though, was even though this was my book, I looked at it as I was detached from it. Like I couldn't be married to any part of it. I had to be able to be okay with taking all the feedback that came and saying, it's a great point. And that was probably, and somebody else had actually given me that advice, was don't be married to anything in your book. Like you've got to be able to take kind of the wisdom from others and take it into your own book.
So then can I ask how much you spent on editing?
It was my most expensive part of the book. It was about $1,200.
Oh, that's not okay. Yeah. I was going to guess $5,000.
Oh, well.
$1,200 is
deal, right?
Well, I asked that question, to help flesh it out for anyone else who's going to write a book. Is that is that in their budget? And $1,200, might be in a way that 5 or 10 might not be. Well, it's great. Continuing the circle, Michelle.
Okay. In terms of your coaching, as far as, how did you go about, deciding on if you've got, I don't know if your packages are just reside in Coach.me or if you've got other packages, but how did you kind of decide on what to offer and what to, as far as pricing goes with that?
So my packages are in Coach.me. I think it's a pretty easy platform, and kind of back to what Glenn was saying, the timepiece, it's easy from a coach to use it. But it's also easy as a coachee to use it if you're being coached. You know, it's kind of an easy platform to use. So all my coaching is done with Coach.me, and then my packages are the standard rate. So I don't have any higher priced packages right now. You know, if I wanted to add maybe a, you know, develop your book package, I might price that much higher. But right now I find that that's a good price point for, you know, working professional, especially like new moms to the workplace. Maybe they're just getting right back into the workplace and don't want to spend an exorbitant amount on coaching.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
So Donita, does that mean that you're not planning to offer face-to-face sessions, or like over Skype or
You know, I do
or
have,
phone?
you know, I do have the availability to buy phone calls,
Yeah,
but I haven't had anybody actually purchase a
right.
phone call. And I wonder if it's because the demographic that I am working with, they don't need one more thing in their life to schedule. You know, I mean,
Right.
like, you know, I don't know that I want one more thing to try to, as a working mom, if I was
Right.
thinking about the people that I cater to, you know, these are busy moms. So all the folks that I have coached so far, they've all been female. I think because my message says, you know, female. But the other is I haven't coached anybody yet that has one child. It seems to be multiple children. So I envision that because of the time that I'm getting the messages, it's almost always after 10 o'clock at night, or it's always, you know, there are times that are kind of the fringe hours, which when I interact with them, it's pretty good. But I don't know that would actually, majority of my people would want that.
Got it. Gwen?
Well, I just kind of had a follow-up thought. This isn't necessarily so much a question, but you know, thinking about Rob's interview, he was talking about having 3 packages, kind of a low, medium, and high touch kind of package. So I was just trying to imagine what a, you know, like one thing he described that I thought was really interesting was that in helping set priorities, there might be somebody who's going through a big launch of a product or something, or have a month where they need intense daily phone calls. And there might be a situation, I was just trying to imagine if it, like a mom going back to work for the first time for a while, she might need more, maybe more opportunity to download what's happening to her and coach through it. I don't know. I'm just thinking, but you know, there might be opportunities to mix it up or have very different levels of support for moms.
You know, and that's a great point. I could put a higher price package for that and maybe have a, you know, back to work package where it is calls. You know, that's an interesting thought. I might think through that and add to that. You know, it's interesting, even though with my packages of the setting priorities and what's your most important thing for today, I don't know that I have ever had a client that has interacted with me every single day. You know, and sometimes I get, so if I have a client that has missed a couple of days, you know, I'll say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm still here. Just, you know, and it's always sort of in that, I'm here and supportive of you. And then they'll come back and they'll say, oh, I'm so sorry, it's been really busy. And, you know, I don't want to be the pressure of, you have to interact with me. I'm here. I really want it to be more of, I'm here to support you. You know, what can we think through? So, you know, I don't know. I'm curious, and maybe I'll put that package out there and see, now that I'm kind of thinking through it as we talk.
How much of your coaching ends up being informational? That, like, here are ways to prioritize your systems. I'm just curious if that's like a demographic difference, but it felt like it was a lot of what Rob ends up talking to his clients about.
Not much, really. It's more,
Right.
Mine's more of, what are your challenges, you know, and let me think
Right.
through. I'm not giving them like tips on how to implement a GDT system, or
Right.
I mean, it's kind of, it doesn't seem to be
What?
that way at all.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it could be a different demographic thing. I'm not, the women who I have coached all seem to be established in their careers, so they could
Yeah.
already have their systems. They just need another layer of support. Somebody to say, I need coaching this way. So I don't know. Could be part of my demographic leads to that.
Yeah.
Or Rob's is very different.
Well, it's just one of the things I enjoy talking to the coaches here is that each of you have this window into a particular type of person in a particular time of their life. All right, passing it forward, Michelle.
Well, I was wondering about how you go about advertising your services.
So mine have been very organic. I am in the sea of coaches because my price for set priorities is the standard rate. I do some reach outs, and kind of depending on my day job. I do have a day job, and the book and kind of some other things. The number of reach outs I do every week varies, but typically I found I either do them on LinkedIn or Facebook. And I actually get more interaction from Facebook than I do from LinkedIn. But I have a kind of a script, and I used it from Tony's script at the first of the year and kind of geared it more towards working moms. But just says, hey, and it's just somebody normally that I know will answer me back. Mm-hmm. So it's a friend or a previous colleague. And I'll just say, hey, I've been doing coaching working moms. If would love to talk to you further if you're interested, or would you mind passing my name along if you know of anybody that may be interested? And then depending on if I think they will answer me or not, sometimes I put in there, or would you like to subscribe to my weekly newsletter? And I write a weekly encouragement newsletter for working moms, and it goes out on Sunday nights, and it takes 2 to 3 minutes to read. And I usually have a theme to those. So it's kind of do you want the higher thing, or if not, can I at least subscribe you to my newsletter? So it's kind of how I so far have been marketing my services.
And Donita, that is converting for you? I haven't actually looked at the back end on that, like more than once.
I would say a couple of times, not a huge rate, but I wonder too, if it's one of those things that just have to keep it going. The newsletter has actually been really interesting because I tend to get a pretty good read rate on them. I use MailChimp, and I am getting pretty good amount of new subscribers every week because I put a blurb in there like, hey, if you have a friend that would like this newsletter, please forward it to them. Yeah. And I get, it's kind of organically grown. One thing that I'm going to do this week is set up a Facebook speaker and author page for my book, is I'm going to add the newsletter link to Facebook and see, kind of how that goes as well. So kind of market both the things, the book and the coaching.
Gwen, how about you?
Well, I can't think of any other questions right now, but I'm just thinking, my goodness, you have a lot going on between a book and 2 young daughters and coaching and a big job. You've got a lot going on.
But I think that's where I think working moms can kind of have it going on. I have realized I can't do it all, but I can do what's most important. So it took me 10 years to write the book, and it took me, probably a year and a half of really working on it. If I didn't have several different things going on, could I have done it quicker? Maybe, but that also is what makes me happy. I mean, I can be restless from time to time, so I like to have a lot of variety. When I went back to work after I had my second daughter, who's going to be 8 at the end of the month, I was in a job that I just really didn't like, and I changed jobs because actually a more high profile, more stressful job, because I wanted to show my daughters that you can do anything. You know, you set your mind to it, you can do it. You know, you can't do it all, but you can do whatever you put your mind to. So like in any given day, I mean, I may not work on everything, right? I mean, but you know, I am following my own advice, and I'm doing what matters most. You know, I think the key for me also has been, for the last 3.5 years, I have sent my weekly goals to my coach every week. You know, probably missed a couple of weeks, but I send them to her on Sunday or Monday. And then I usually have a midweek check-in, and I say, this is where I'm at on them. And I have realized, you know, I may not get the book signing scheduled this week because my daughters are starting back to school for next week. And I realized that there's 2 things I have to do for them. So, you know, it's a trade off. And, you know, I think that's probably part of it too. But it's also a lot of fun. You know, I think I'm doing what I want to do, which is pretty cool. You know, like if I look at each of these things, the book has given me so much joy. I mean, it's such a neat thing to write about my dad who's still living, and for him to kind of see the things that are coming out of it. There's a part in the book where I talk about his love for chocolate and how much he loves chocolate. And he works in the town that I still live in. And one of his patients, he's an optician, brought him some chocolate like right after the book launch, because she had wanted to bring him some chocolate, which I think is kind of neat. I love my job. I'm very fortunate to have a really great day job. And then the coaching I have found has given me a tremendous amount of energy. You know, I love helping other working moms. And a few years ago, when I was getting requests at work, and I work for a really large Fortune 50 company, and I was getting requests to mentor people. We have a really unique culture to mentor other people. I just started turning down men because I just felt like I had this connection with other women. And, you know, it's kind of nice to see, you know, somebody that's similar to you succeed. And so that's what I get from this coaching. It's like, I love hearing like, yeah, I got everything done today that I wanted to get done, or nope, and I decided that it wasn't important, you know. And so those kind of things fuel my day and kind of make my week kind of go well.
Cool.
There's a lot to love in what you're saying. I probably latch on to the oddest things, but one of the things I really was liking in the whole story is this what I would call a coaching career ladder, where you're starting to put the pieces together and they add up. You know, so it's coaching it all, but then it's telling people that you're coaching, which then creates a network of people that know you're a coach and can make referrals. It's the mailing list, which grows every week. The book, which then I believe you're planning to turn into speaking opportunities and to additional books. And, you know, right, it might not be that all of your books are self-published, right? Because, you know, my understanding of the publishing industry is they really like for authors who have a mailing list and or have speaking credentials so that they know the word will get out on the book. I mean, you wish your publisher did the marketing for you, but the reality is they want the author to do the publishing. So I'm curious what your next steps, what you think the next steps are for the book. I mean, there's marketing the book, but I feel like you're going to use that book to create new opportunities for yourself.
Yeah. So I've got about 30 different titles that I kind of did a big brain dump of other ones that I want to write. I think I will release, I'd like to release a book a year. That'd be my and this book is about 30,000 words, which sounds like a lot, but it's like 200, you know, less than 200 pages, right? About 200 pages.
Right.
I'd like to release a couple of Kindle singles in between the big book launches. And then, you know, hopefully in 2 to 3 years, I'll have a publisher that will want to help me after I've got a little bit of the platform started. I would love to have it help launch more speaking engagements. I do an exorbitant amount of training in my day job,
Right.
teaching leadership classes, and I'm also have taught for the last 10 years at a couple of local universities, once or twice a year, teach negotiation and mediation and some other classes. And so I'm kind of hoping that this, the hard work that I've done over the last 10 years will pivot, and the next 10 years will be a little bit different.
But it's great. I mean, I feel like people look at a book and ascribe so much, expertise, and it's like you look different once you've published a book. I mean, not just you, but like all
Right.
coaches look different
Yeah.
in that moment. Michelle?
I do not have any other questions.
All right, we're now at the point of round robin where we can pass, but I'll keep going around. Gwen, how about you?
I'll pass.
Oh, back to me already. So I'm curious about speaking. I feel like that's a part of the ladder that we don't touch on very much inside of Coach Semi, but it's such a common part of a coach's business. Who are you going to be reaching out to get speaking opportunities?
So local universities, women's groups. I mean, there's a couple of technology-focused women's groups here in Nashville, in the Middle Tennessee area where I live. Also, like professional women's organizations. So that's going to be, although this is 9 life lessons from my dad, it's really, it's about listening to the wisdom of others, and that's what I want to speak about, either one of the lessons or talk about how we can learn so much from each other by just being, open and having the ears to hear the wisdom that comes to us every day.
I like that. So this is part of a speaking business too, is I think to have, basically stump speeches. Like, do you feel like you basically have the same talk that you give over and over again, refining it?
Yeah, I've got about 5 different classes that I have taught here at work that I've done probably 30 times over the last 6 years. And so I've got those, and I will develop some similar material based on my book and have something that I could just kind of go and deliver, kind of the same way that I do my adjunct classes at the local universities. I've taught them several times. So, once you kind of get, you do them over years, you can kind of deliver them a little bit easier.
Just to summarize, you're an author, public speaker, trainer, coach, corporate leader, mom.
Sounds a little, and I have a standard poodle. I know you just got a new dog.
That's right. And dog lover.
Yeah.
It's great.
One thing though I would like to mention, because I'm a newer coach, so been on the platform for a long time as somebody that's used the services, but only got certified last year. And I think one thing for newer coaches is you hear like Kendra has so many, she's coached like the most people on Coach.me, and Rob has just an amazing stats. And I think for a new coach, sometimes that can almost be a little disheartening, because you think, I'm doing all this marketing and nobody is signing up, and what am I doing wrong? And I think that there's, some benefit just to say like, join the calls, learn and listen from the others, and don't get frustrated. Like, it will come. You're not going to be a success overnight. And I think for me, when I first got my certification, I thought like, well, everybody's going to find me, and I'm going to have like 20 new clients tomorrow. and maybe that happens for other people, but that didn't happen for me. It's maybe 1 or 2 new clients, a month sometimes. And I think for new coaches, you just kind of have to not get disheartened by that. You you've got to make sure that you can get your name out and do these things and be seen and kind of do your own work too, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good message for other coaches. And yeah, I mean, it's a good message for us. Gwen and I are, I think, trying to do a lot of work to make it more communal here for the coaches. I feel like we could wrap up if we don't have more questions. So let me just do a quick round robin. Michelle, are you all done, do you think?
I'm done. I will pass.
Gwen, how about you?
Well, I just want to say, Donita, that your warmth and your well-rounded, just all the things you're doing and the themes in your work are so inspiring. Your support and encouragement of working moms, and then the book that you've just published that is sort of an homage to your dad. Just the support of and the kind of encouraging messages and the warmth that you exude just make me feel really confident about and inspired. And so I'm hoping I can find some moms to send to you.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I hope you can.
Well, right on. That's perfect. A perfect way to end. Donita, thank you so much. I might pause. I'll stop the recording.